I'm here today with Nikita Morel, the founder of Architects Wordshop, because she's a speaker and a co-organizer of the Architect Success Forum later this month. And for those keeping score at home, Nikita will present her session on September 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Now, if you haven't heard about the Architect Success Forum yet, it's a 5-day virtual event for architects around the world. I'll include a link to the website below, but over the course of 5 days, there will be 12 sessions. And all of those sessions will have Q&A at the end. And that way, every architect that attends, meaning you, when you attend, you'll get the most out of the sessions and be able to apply what was presented by Nikita and all of the other presenters specifically to the success of your own firm. Now, what's fun for me is that Nikita and I often talk about how architects communicate, for better or for worse. And I really appreciate the fact that when she's developing copywriting and marketing strategies for you as an architect, you are officially entering the no archibabble zone. So, Nikita, can we start our conversation today with just a little bit of clarification? What is archibabble?
Sure. So the biggest thing is when I refer to archibabble is it's not, I guess it's just talking in technical architectural terms for the sake of it. So I'm not one to say, I'm a definite believer that actual architecture lingo and technical language definitely has its place. It has its place in, academia, or just when you're in the company of other architects. But what I'm trying to say is with archibabble, it's when it's used sometimes to hide behind what you're really trying to say. You don't know what to say, so you just add in a bit of architectural jargon. And the biggest thing with archibabble is that not everyone understands it. And I think a lot of architects, no offense, but I think they create their websites, they create their communications with other architects in mind, and not necessarily their ideal clients. So, yes.
Yeah, those are all good points, and they are proven out. Just click on 5 or 6 architect websites and you see this. And we've talked about this before, but I have another friend, Kathy Kloats Guest, who calls that jargon monoxide. So I like to say, piggybacking on Kathy's term, I like to say, don't kill your clients with jargon monoxide poisoning. But it is, it's using those terms that only architects use, right? You're not speaking the language of your ideal client. And so that's a really great base for this conversation. And then, of course, what you're going to talk about at the Architect Success Forum, the title of your presentation is Website Copywriting Secrets to Help You Attract Better Clients. Now, I'm pretty sure every architect loves the idea of attracting better clients, but just in case there are any that are confusing copyright with an R with copywriting, can you explain what do you mean when you say copywriting, and where do you apply that skill?
Sure. So I'm glad you brought this up, Jeff, because a lot of people do get it quite confused. So copywriting is, it's not, I'll start with what it's not. So yeah, it's obviously nothing to do with copyright law, but it's also not design writing, or it's not journalism, or it's not storytelling. I mean, there are elements of storytelling in it, but what copywriting is, it's actually an art and a science. So it's underpinned by marketing, consumer behavior, and psychology. So I guess in essence, it's writing in a way to make your end user or your reader take some sort of an action. So I guess you could say it's writing to sell, but yeah, it's really that end action that you're trying to get people to take. So, an end action on your website, it could be anything from, I want you to reach out and click contact us, or it could be, I want you to follow us on LinkedIn. Whatever that action is writing in a way. And I mean, just like an architect, every single millimeter of your blueprint matters. It's the same with copywriting. Every single word matters. And I'm a big advocate of no empty words. So, sometimes it is hard to really distill what you're trying to say, but that's where a copywriter comes in, because, it's backed with a lot of research. No one just sits down. A copywriter will never just sit down and write, but they'll think about that ideal client and who you're writing for. So hopefully that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and those are all great points. And one of the things that, or one of the places that I think is really overlooked, that the idea of really good copywriting can be applied, is even in the architect's proposals. You know, I think a lot of architects, if they were familiar with the term copywriting with a W, they might have thought exactly about what you were talking about. Maybe your website, maybe social media, something like that. But then they forget about the proposal, which is that's where you close the sale, right? So I think it's really important in that context as well.
Yeah, and Jeff, you're completely right. Like fee proposals and everything from your newsletters to your emails
Right,
that, you know,
right.
internally your staff are sending out, to, you know, an award submission if you know, want to enter an award, like all this is copywriting because you want that end reader to take some sort of an action after reading your words, and create that connection. I guess that's a huge part of it, is you want to connect and speak the same language as your reader, so that they feel, you know, trust and seen and heard.
Yeah, there are a couple interesting things in what you said right there. Number one was making a connection, which is it's not even important. I mean, it's vital, right? You've got to do that, and then moving these people, moving these prospective clients to action, I think was really the other really important thing that you said right there, making connection and moving people to action. Because if you don't move someone to action, they're not going to hire you. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I know that you'll cover this in depth during your Architect Success Forum talk on the 24th, but what's your maybe top one or two secrets for an architect who wants to attract better clients? We haven't touched on that idea yet, attract better clients. So what's maybe one or two of your top secrets?
Sure. So yeah, I don't want to give it all away, but I guess one of my top secrets is kind of what we've just, you know, touched on just briefly. Then is it is about connecting, and the way you do that. You know, for example, tone of voice is huge. So creating a distinct voice for your firm, and I think the biggest secret, and I think this is something that a lot of architects often overlook or they miss or they feel a bit, you know, hesitant to embrace, is that you can have a personality as a practice and be professional at the same time. I think a lot of often architects have, you know, they feel like they have to pick one or another, and they think, oh, but if we show a bit of our personality, then, you know, we're not going to be seen as professional. And I've, in my workshop, in my presentation at the summit, you'll see I've, you know, gone through 663 websites, precisely, and found great examples of practices that are all around the world doing both. Because at the end of the day, you know, ideal clients, yes, they're hiring a practice, but they're also hiring the people behind the practice. So you need to have that human element. So that's one secret. And then another is, you know, you really have to know your ideal client, and not just in a, oh yeah, you know, they're property developers or that, but you need to know what makes them tick, like, you know, emotionally, you know, there's like psychographics of what are their behaviors and what is keeping them up at night. And when you know that, it makes your copywriting a lot, I guess, stronger, because, you know, you've got that one person in mind and you really kind of understand what problems they need solving. So yeah, you make it about them and not yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was having this exact conversation yesterday that there are a lot, and this isn't just architects, but since this is the context that we're speaking in right now, there are a lot of businesses, a lot of architecture firms that if they've actually thought about who their ideal client is, they may have gone to the depth of demographics, but not taken the step to get into the psychographics. And to me, that is a real, and again, it's not even a missed opportunity. They've missed a very necessary piece of the formula.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, so number one, I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation today. And so for those of you that don't know, this is, I said it before, this is a conference, a forum for architects all around the world. And right now it's getting late in the evening for Nikita because she's in Australia, and it's very early in the morning for me because I'm in Indiana in the United States. And so we're straddling a bunch of time zones here. So why don't we just wrap this up with one final question? And that one question is, or that final question is, what's one question about copywriting that most people don't ask, but they should?
That's a good question, Jeff. I think the biggest thing is, especially when clients come to me and they have, website copywriting, and they kind of talk about the pages they want written or how many words or where the text is going to fit. But something they never ask me, and it's a huge, huge part of my process, is, oh, Nikita, what research are you going to do before you start writing? And I think, a good copywriter or a great copywriter will tell you that, the way you write is all based on your research. So, for example, before I even put pen to paper, when I'm writing an architecture website, I'll interview, 5 to 10 of my clients' past clients, if that makes sense. So I get an objective perspective. I understand what, language they're using, and then that is kind of applied to their copy. So yeah, I would say that they never ask me, which they should, how are you going to, understand my ideal client's voice? How are you going to conduct research? So yeah, I would say it's that.
That's a great answer. It's not the one I expected. It's a fantastic answer. I appreciate that. That is so important. The voice that you've mentioned several times, and getting to that right voice, and how do you get there? And going back to the research, that's awesome. Thank you for that. So, Nikita, I really appreciate you taking the time out. Again, I know it's getting late for you there, and so thanks for taking the time to record this with me. And I'm looking forward to your talk, Website Copywriting Secrets to Help You Attract Better Clients. That'll happen on Thursday, September 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And as I mentioned earlier, I will post a link to the Architect Success Forum website in the comments below. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, scroll down to the description. I'll also put the link in the description, but on YouTube, I will include in the description ways that you can find Nikita and can find out more about her work and contact her and talk about how she can help you and your architecture firm. So, Nikita, thanks very much. And I'm looking forward to the talk here, and just next week, I guess it is, as we're recording this right now.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jeff. Really appreciate it. Thank you.